guys, how's everyone doing? As usual, I'm just doing a little video to put some of my thoughts onto the guitar. Hello viewer, who's there? Hiya. So we're going to create some nice chords today. Now what I'm going to be doing is, I saw years ago actually, I don't know why it's just come into my head this morning, but Gary Burton, the Vibes player, he did a video about the brightness to darkness scale of the modes. I'm just going to focus on the major scale modes today. But he talks about going from the brightest modes to the darkest modes. And that got me thinking today about trying to maybe play the guitar a bit more like someone... Hi Sakar, nice to see you again. No, I don't do live every day, just when I've got the time, when I can fit it in. I've got an hour before I need to leave for work, so I'm doing something quickly now. Hope you're all right. So we're going to go from the brightest mode to the darkest mode as a scale, first of all. And then I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts about how to pick the nicest notes to come up with some really minimal harmony that really tells the story of that particular mode in the fewest number of notes possible. The way that someone like Bill Evans, rather than doing these huge chords, would play a dyad or a small cluster in the right hand over a bass note. And that's all you need, really. Okay, so let's start with the brightest mode. Let's see. I think I've been a bit quiet in recent videos, so hopefully you can hear that all right. So let's do this in... I'm a bit bored of doing everything in C, but okay. Well, we'll demonstrate the modes in C. Okay, so starting, the brightest one is the Lydian. Now, when we're talking about brightest and darkest, we're basically talking about the most major going to the most minor, or the most sharpened going to the most flattened scale. So the Lydian is the one which is the major scale with a sharpened 4. So that's major scale so far, and then we expect a semitone, but we get the tone, which is a very bright sound. We go, whoa. So that's our really bright Lydian mode there. Next, the most bright is major, the major scale, or the Aeolian mode, where that sharp 4 has just been flattened back to the normal natural F. Lovely. Next up is the next most flat, is the major scale with a flattened 7th. So the B becomes a B flat, and we call this the Mixolydian. Okay. The next most minor is the Dorian mode, where we take that same, the Mixolydian, and we flatten the 3rd. Dorian mode. Next up's the Aeolian, where we're going to flatten the 6th. Phrygian, flatten the 2. And finally the Locrian, where we're going to flatten the 5 as well. So that's the brightest to darkest, so let me just list those. Lydian is the most bright, Ionian or major, Mixolydian, Dorian, Aeolian, Phrygian, and the Locrian to finish with, okay? Right, let's get into the topic then, okay, today's topic, which is how do we pick chords that most imply those scales with the fewest number of notes? Now, there's a couple of little rules that are certainly not set in stone. They're just rules that I've either read other people have got. And I want to share these rules with you today, but of course, as with any rules, they're going to be broken, and breaking the rules can often make things sound even more exciting. So, if we start with our most bright mode, which was the Lydian, what we're basically doing here, guys, is we're asking ourselves, which notes don't I need? And what does that leave me with? Which notes imply that mode the best? Okay? Now, it's normally going to be the one that's been altered, but there's a couple of other thoughts to add here as well. So the first thought is you don't really need to play the root. Now, you can play the root if you want, but you don't need to. Why? Well, two reasons. One is because if you're playing with a bassist or a piano player, they're probably covering that in either the left hand of a piano player or a bassist, of course, they will probably play the root. And even if they don't, how harmony works, and even if you've got an uneducated listener, you know, a listener who's not musical at all, they've heard music so many times that they can automatically fill in as a sort of psychoacoustic effect. They can hear the root as a subharmonic, okay, below what's going on based on the context, okay? Now, of course, if you're worried about it not sounding rooty enough, you know, if you're playing a C chord and it doesn't sound C-y enough, then, of course, add a C in if you can. But it's not hugely important. So, with the Lydian, let's think about each of these notes. Now, another thing to notice is that in the major scale modes, only major scales, which are the Lydian and the Aeolian, the major scale, they're the only ones which have a major seventh in them. Therefore, you can sort of make the assumption that a major 7 also suggests a major third. Okay, because no scales with a major 7 in have got a flattened third. None of the modes within the major scale. Of course, we've got the harmonic minor and the melodic minor and loads of other scales as well, but we're just doing major scale today. So you can say that a major 7th is the same as playing a major 7th and a third at the same time. Okay, so you sort of kill two birds with one stone there. So in terms of Lydian, what I'm thinking would be really nice is actually just playing the sharp 4, the Lydian note, and the major 7 note, which is the B. Now, by itself, like that, you can't really hear what this chord is, so I'm going to add a C on the 7th string here, so you can... Hopefully you can hear that chord. So I've got C as a bassist on the low B string here, and then F sharp and B. I'm using the open B string. Now that's a really Lydian sound. You'll notice though, when you just pick certain notes, it can become a bit, I don't know, modal for me actually means like dark. Even though that's the brighter scale, it's still quite round and warm and fruity sounding, okay? Now, something else that's nice to do is use semitones wherever possible. So we've got two semitone options within the Lydian. We've got the F sharp, the sharp 4 to the 5. That there suggests Lydian. Again, if I add a C below it, that's a beautiful sound. And we've also got the B to the C at the top. Now, to play both of those at the same time is pretty much impossible without two hand play. F, G, B, C. Now that's a gorgeous sound, but we can't really do that, so you would choose one or the other. So this is the bass note with F sharp, G, B. And then this is the bass note with F sharp, B, C. So that's a very Lydian sound, you see. And as you've seen in some of my other videos, you can do all the chord rotation stuff as well with this. Okay, the next one is the major scale. Well, the major is, it's pretty boring really, but a really nice one, which I've just completely poached from Tim Miller, as most of my stuff I poached from Tim Miller, is this voicing here, where we've got the root, which we don't need, but it's there because we've got this lovely semitone with the major 7th. It's got that beautiful semitone there, and then the 5th on the top. There's a Radiohead song that starts like that as well, I can't remember what it is. B, C, G though, those are the notes. So we don't need an E, we can add one in if we want. But we're adding more stuff than we need, we're sort of wasting space on our speaker. It's better to ask your speaker to play 3 notes really, really nicely than to try and force another note in and it has to split the same speaker size between 4 notes. I know this seems a strange way of thinking, but this thinking's come from mixing. You know, you've only got, your speakers can only produce so much stuff. The more stuff you ask it to produce, it has to make those smaller. So if you just play 2 notes, oh, see you later then, Unique Sekar Kananthi. I've just got back from Bali very recently. I just had a nice holiday in Bali. It's a beautiful country, Indonesia. Oh, don't worry about school. And you can just hang out with me on YouTube in future. Far better than school. So there's a major... There's another major voice that's nice, which is the major 7, the C, the 5, and the A on the top. B, C, G, A. So those are some very majory sounding chords. Beautiful. I'm not taking any credit for that. That's Tim Miller. Well done, Tim. He really needs approval from me, Tim Miller. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick swig of coffee and then I'm going to carry on. Who's still watching? Who are you, Mr. Viewer? Say hello. It'd be nice to hear from you. Okay, next up is Dorian. Okay, so no, it's not. Sorry. Next up, thanks, Unique Sekar Kananthi. Take care. Leave some questions down below, and I'll do a future video on them at some point. Okay. Cheers, mate. Take care. He's a regular viewer, my mate Unique Sekar. Okay, Dorian's next. No, it's not. Sorry, I've just said that. Mixolydian's next. We're going from brightest to darkest. Mixolydian's next, okay? So, this is the first scale that doesn't have a major 7th in it. Therefore, that note's probably going to be considered quite important. If that makes sense. The flattened 7th, because it's the one that differentiates the Mixolydian from the major. So we probably want to put the flat 7 in this one. Now, this is the only major scale which has a flat 7 in them. All the minor scales have a flattened 7 within the modes, I should say. All the minor major scale modes have a flattened 7. So we need the listener to know that this is the one with the flat 7 that is still got the major 3rd in as well. And we just get this beautiful tritone, which by itself is just a stunning sound. Oh, it's like... It's difficult to know whether that's nice or not, but we all know it is, really. We just got a tritone there, E and B flat. Now, if that's a little bit much, something else I like to do is add one of the other extensions in there as well, so either the 9, the 11, or the 13. Let's try a few of those. So let's try adding the 13 into that. So this is E, A, B flat. Yeah, now we're talking. And the bass note is... Oh, I'll sing the bass note. Let's try the 9 instead. The 9, the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 7th. Yeah, that's all you need. I mean, the 5th just it's great, but listen, if I just if I've got my tritone and then I just add the 5th, it doesn't. That's without and with. It doesn't really add anything nice. Now, if you love that, then great, use it. But compared to... Yeah. Now it's Mixolydian. The 5th is you can take it or leave it note. It's the 2nd harmonic of the bass note. So again, if a bass player is playing a low C, the 1st harmonic of that is an octave C, and the 2nd harmonic is a G. So it's a really strong fundamental harmonic, which I know is an oxymoron, but you know what I'm trying to say. And so the listeners are going to hear that G anyway. Don't waste space from your speaker using it. Just give yourself this. Or this. Tones and semitones. You see here we've got D, E, B flat. So we've got that tone there. Lovely sound. And then semitone with a B flat, A and E. Okay, so 3 down, 4 to go. Dorian is next. Okay, so what's the important note of the Dorian? Well, the Dorian is just the Mixolydian with a flattened 3rd. So this one here, we should probably start adding the minor 3rd in. The minor 3rd, unlike the major 3rd, you can't really overdo it. The major 3rd, I'm sure some of you know. Hello, viewer. The major 3rd, some of you know, Bach had a rule which was don't double the 3rd. Okay, so you can actually have too much majorness. Okay, you can have too much major 3rd. The rule doesn't apply for the minor 3rd though. You can double the minor 3rd as much as you want. Of course, if you double the minor 3rd too much, it becomes off balance the chord, and it can actually sound like a major 6. Okay, but anyway, that's a topic for another day. So Dorian, what's the important notes? Well, again, we don't really need the root C. it doesn't really tell us anything. It's home. It's finished. Now already I'm thinking, well, 2 to 3. There's a semitone. That might be something worth exploring. Okay, I'll carry on. 4, 5, 6. Now that's the Dorian note. You cannot play a Dorian scale or you can't play a Dorian scale or a Dorian chord without highlighting that major sixth, and we get just like we've done in the Mixolydian. Major sixth to minor 7. But whereas in the Mixolydian, I was playing a major third. I'm going to have to play a minor third in this one to let the listener know that this is minor territory. Yeah, that's the. Hopefully you can hear that bass note. I'll add the bass note in up the octave if I can. I'm going to do this. Oh, this is going to be a huge stretch. This is a Holdsworth chord. There we go. I know it's not. There we go. So that's on the low E string. 8, 6, 7, 3. 3 on the G string. Okay. That's definitely Dorian. I don't think anyone could play, well, you could play anything you want over it, but I don't think anyone would instinctively play anything other than the Dorian over that. That's gorgeous. Oh, I love that. But what about the 2 to the minor third? That's another interval that might be worth exploring in this. So maybe D, E flat, A, like that. That's nice as well. I like that. D, E flat, A. Can't really get the. So that is on the E string, 10, 6, 7, 10, 6, 7 on the E, A, D. Very Dorian sound. Lovely. Okay, next up is the Aeolian. Well, what's the difference between the Dorian and the Aeolian? The flattened sixth. So it's definitely a minor scale. So again, it's quite nice to add the minor note in there, the minor third if you can. And in this case, we've got flattened sixth relative to the major scale, so that's going to be an A flat. Well, that's worth highlighting. That is the Aeolian note. Okay, let's try this. So I know I've got a C going on in the bass. I need that. That's the Aeolian note there. Now again, I can put the 7 in there. That's nice. And the minor third. That's what I want. There's my Aeolian chord. I haven't prepared these guys. I'm just experimenting here, and you know when you found it. That's the one, because listen. Yeah. That's the chord. So what I'm playing there, my Aeolian chord, on the A, D, and G string, 6, 6, 3. E flat, which is the minor third, A flat, which is the minor 6, B flat, which is a minor 7. So it's a very minor sounding chord. It looks like an E flat sus, if you know that chord. Lovely stuff. Okay, so we've done Aeolian. Now the next one is the Phrygian. Well, what's the unique difference between the Phrygian and the Aeolian? The flat 9 or flat 2. So we've got to put D flat in there. Now, if D flat's our note, again, I'm noticing, well, there's going to be a semitone there from the C to the D flat, so that might be nice to sort of exploit that. Yeah. I'm going to want something to let me know. I mean, that's definitely minor. You don't need the flattened third. That alone is Phrygian. That's just G, C, D flat. Definitely Phrygian. Why don't I need the minor third? Well, there's no major scale which has got a flat 2 and a major third, apart from, you could say, the Arabic scale, which is the one that goes, or the Phrygian dominant. Okay, so it's not a very common sound. So if you just get that, the listener's going to, especially if you're in a major context, the listener's going to assume the flattened third. But there you can shove it in if you want. So I can maybe do that way there, where I'm going 6 on the A string, 5 on the G string, and 2 on the B string, which is my D flat. And yeah. Anything else I could do on that one? I add the F in as well. I mean, we've been missing the 4 a little bit in these last few chords. So I could have the tone between the E flat and the F. That's quite nice. Again, I've got a semitone between my G and my A flat. I can have G, A flat, D flat. Oh, I like that one actually. That's a nicer way to play it on the D string. Sorry, on the A string. Still getting used to this 7 string. On the A string, 10, 6, 6, which you can bar, which is the 5, flat 6, flat 9. I think that's my favourite actually, you know, that's my favourite. That's the one, so that's definitely a Phrygian sound. All the way down there. Little bass, just so I've got the hiccups now. Okay, last one is the Locrian. Okay, well, what makes the Locrian unique is the flat 5 as well. Everything's flat. It's the flattest scale. Everything apart from the root and the 4 are flat. Okay. We've got a flat 5 and a flat 9. Well, the only other scale with a flat 9 in it, so the only major mode with a flat 9 in it, is the Phrygian. So, flat 9 is a worthwhile note. It's worth playing. And there's my... well, I'll tell you what, here's a nicer way to play it. Is you can actually play a major triad. And then listen when I put the bass note in. So what I'm playing there is F sharp major, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, but they're actually flats. It's G flat, B flat, D flat. That's a nice one. Not enough semitones in that for me though. I like my semitones, so I might add the semitone on the top between the flat 9 and the root. Now I'm going to get a semitone between the F and the G flat as well, so I could do that there. So that's on the A string, 8, 4, 6, and that's the Locrian sound. Oscillating there. Right. So hopefully you get what I was doing there. I was going through each mode and basically trying to isolate the fewest number of notes that gives me that mode sound. So the Dorian sound, the Phrygian sound, the Locrian sound, the Mixolydian sound. And you've got to go through a bit of a critical process. You've got to say, do I really need this note? And sometimes the answer is no, but I want the note, okay? And that's valid. You're allowed to want a note. So if you're playing, for example, well, I think the one that stuck out to me there was in the Mixolydian. The G just added absolutely nothing, but the D or the A, they take it to another level. The A in particular, because you get a semitone. Semitones are so... I mean, they're a beautiful sound. They're actually quite a modern sound, semitones, guys, because in the traditional... You know, you go to jazz guitar voicings, they're normally at least a third or a fourth between each note. So you often get quite wide interval chords. When you get a semitone, a clash like that, which is more piano-y, it can sound really sort of modern and, yeah, like these, you know, Tim Miller, Holdsworth, Halabeek, Quayle, these guys. So if you're trying to get more of that sort of sound in your playing, try and reduce your intervals. Something else you can do is you can do the opposite, the opposite, and try and increase your intervals. Try and spread your chords out over sixths, sevenths, fourths, fifths. You know, the bigger intervals that you wouldn't normally do, and you get sort of quartal and quintal and septal. I don't know if that's a word. Whatever, harmony. You get some really nice sounds with that. Anyway, as always, please comment below. I know this was just a quick one. I didn't go into too much depth, but if there's any of these that you want explaining in more detail, let me know. Leave any questions, any topics you'd like to see me cover. I'm really enjoying the live videos at the minute. So take care. Thanks for people who did tune in live. If you tune in live in future, let's hear from you. Say hello. I had quite a few viewers there at one point, but only my man Unique Sekar was talking to me. So do tune in, ask some questions. If I'm too simple for you, then let me know. Or if it's too complicated, let me know. I can sort of explain stuff in more detail. So take care. See you in the next one then. Cheers.